whatever you're doing or whatever you're being great at is going to help you be a blessing to others, that goes hand in hand with the will of God. And so with Abraham and his greatness and everything that he did, we know Abraham's story, and for those of you who don't know, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. My man Abraham had to go to the land that God had promised him, so he had to leave all his peoples, he had to pack up all his stuff, packed up his nephew, his homeboy Lot, and they started this journey. Now, let's put it in some modern day terms. If you from Queens, or we in Queens right now, and God was to tell us, yo, I got land for you in the BX, but you got to go there by foot. Like, how many of y'all, what's the first thing that you think of if you have to walk to the BX by foot?
What's a BX? Yeah, first of all, what's a BX?
The Bronx. That's the Bronx.
Oh, okay. And I'll be like, I'm not walking all the way over there.
Okay, yeah, it's a very tough journey. How about you?
I probably asked a smart question like, God, do you know there's a train? You know, like, kind of walking.
I would think, why do I have to walk to the Bronx?
Okay, exactly.
I would be like, I would actually go to the Bronx because I love the Puerto Rican food in the Bronx. So I would
I'll actually
I would walk to the train to the Bronx.
okay. Alright, cool. Remember, we saying if there's no train. But alright, cool. Those are a lot of the questions that Abraham probably had, but another one is probably, yo, there's some crazy stuff out there when you're walking. When you imagine you walking from Queens to the Bronx, you gotta walk through everybody's hood, you gotta walk through all these strange places at night, you gotta deal with all these people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so Abraham, he had to be the type of person that would be able to encounter all these things and somehow be able to survive, able to adapt to his surroundings, able to adapt to his habitats. And the funny thing is, that's part of what Abraham was great at. If you look at Abraham, anywhere that he went, like, he always left with more than what he came. It was weird. Even though he was just like passing through, somehow, like, God would give him favor, and then all of a sudden, like, he'd be leaving with mad stuff. And in fact, there's an example in the Bible. In Genesis chapter 12, verses 11 through 16, we'll read it real fast, about when Abraham goes to Egypt. It says, as he was to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarah, I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, this is his wife. Then they will kill me, but they will let you live. Say you are my sister, so that I will be treated well for your sake, and my life will be spared because of you. When Abraham went into Egypt, the Egyptians saw that Sarah was a very beautiful woman. And when Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh, and she was taken to his palace. He treated Abraham well for her sake, and Abraham acquired sheep and cattle, male and female donkeys, male and female servants, and camels. So this dude Abraham come through to Egypt, and he gets all this dope stuff just because his wife is fly. Just because his wife is fly, like, he gets all this crazy stuff. And it says that when he came through, that Pharaoh's officials praised Sarah to Pharaoh. Like, that's nuts. But to me, the crazier part is Abraham's business sense. Like, Abraham, before he even went in there, he assessed everything and how it was going to go down, and it actually went down that way. Like, that's what part of what made him great. Like, he had this mind to, like, know, okay, if I do this, then do that, do this. Like, he knew to tell him, yo, if I tell him that's my sister, they're just going to be like, wow, imagine what the wifey like. Imagine if that's his sister, what's the wifey like? You know what I'm saying? They give him that pound, like, yo, Abraham, you're the man, you're the man. But if they was to tell him, yo, that's my wife, they'd have straight up murked him. And then taking murk means kill. Murk means like, they killed him, right? So they would have straight up murked him and took his shorty. So, Abraham, huh?
Wait, why would they do that?
Because if they murked him, then she don't got nobody. And then they just take it. That's how it went back in the day. They was crazy.
I don't understand all
But
the
see, Abraham knew that. Abraham was able to see how that concept seems so far into you. To Abraham, Abraham knew what was going on. Abraham had basically this mind that was able to assess everything, and he was steps ahead. And that's what allowed him to survive in that situation. But that's not the only thing that Abraham relied on. He just didn't rely on his cunning. He just didn't rely on all these skills that he had. If you go on to chapter 13, which is the very next chapter, is a couple of verses 2 through 4, which really stuck out to me. And it says, Abram had become very wealthy in livestock and in silver and gold. From the Negev, he went from place to place until he came to Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had been earlier, and where he had first built an altar. There Abraham called on the name of the Lord. Alright, cool. So, verse 2, in the very next chapter, after he done got all this stuff, all these donkeys and servants and silver and gold and all this, it says that he went from place to place, and then he went back to the place where he had first built an altar to the Lord and called on his name. And that stuck out to me. You know why? Because by that day's standards, Abram had everything that he already needed in order to settle down and start this family, to make great nations and multiply like God had told him. You know, he had the gold, he had the silver, he had the servants, everything. You know what I'm saying? He probably didn't even have to work anymore at this point, honestly. He was just so rich. But yet, he would go back and he would seek the Lord because he wanted exactly what God had for him. He didn't just want what his gifts and going all in with his talents would bring him, but he wanted to go all in for everything that God had. And when you read further on in chapter 13, it talks about Abraham and Lot, because like I said, Lot's his nephew, who he brought along with him. And at this point, Abraham and Lot's servants, they're having issues with one another, because with all the cattle that they acquired and everything, basically, they couldn't be in such a close proximity. There weren't enough resources wherever they went in the land for both of their livestock to be accommodated. Everything that they just had so many possessions that they couldn't live so close to each other. So Abram's like, okay, you know what, this is causing a problem, so we're going to have to separate. And he says, Lot, you can pick first. And Lot in his head is probably like, oh, okay, sucker, I got to pick first. And Lot's like, all right, looking at the land and just looking around, and he's like, yo, that spot right there, that spot look nice. And Lot picks the spot out, and he goes on, he goes ahead. And then after that, the Bible says that the Lord spoke to Abraham, and then the Lord told Abraham where to go. And Abraham went his way. But see, Abraham, you know, even though it looked like Abraham was a sucker at that point, and he let Lot go first, and Lot got to pick the good-looking land, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about what looked good to the eye. It wasn't about what was pleasing. It wasn't about, you know what I'm saying, how things appeared. It was about what God had for him. And when God spoke to Abraham, that's when Abraham moved and went to the land that, you know, that God had. And if y'all know anything about Lot, Lot is the same person who later on in the Bible, that land that he settled in was next to Sodom and Gomorrah. And Sodom and Gomorrah is the land that, you know, is notorious for being destroyed by the Lord. And Abraham actually had to pray for Lot and his family so they may get out safely. All that being said, imagine if Abraham had went first, or he went by his own instincts, and he wanted to look on the land, he was like, all right, cool, that looks good, I'm going to go there. He'd have been by Sodom and Gomorrah, you know what I'm saying? Where God didn't intend for him to be. And so, all this to say, because Abraham didn't just settle for the wealth that he had acquired, he didn't just settle with going in with his talents and his cunning and his schemes and acquiring all this wealth and becoming this great man, because he wanted to be a great man to the fullest extent, to the extent that God wanted him to be, because he wanted his greatness to go hand in hand with what God had, basically he received his ultimate blessing. He never went awry. He never went astray like Lot did. He didn't end up in some crazy situation like in Sodom and Gomorrah where it's getting destroyed and then, you know, you got to get rescued by some angels. And so all that to say to y'all, it's possible to go hand in hand with the Lord. It's possible to go all in the practical and yet also have that go hand in hand with the spiritual. it's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to, walk by God and walk by what he says instead of what you see. If you see something that looks good before you and waiting, instead of going for it, waiting for the Lord to speak to you, those aren't easy things to do, but those are things, that are very attainable. Those things aren't written in the Bible if we're not able to do them. Christ has given us the power today to do those type of things.
Yeah, I just wanted to even add to that, like you said, it may be really difficult, but like even before I came to this church, I tended to just rely on the spiritual and not practical. Like I wouldn't make any moves. I would just be like, God's gonna do it, God's gonna do it, God's gonna do it. And really, nothing really happened for me until it clicked and I said, I actually have to do something, and whatever I'm not able to do, God is gonna meet the rest of the needs. And that's what I had to learn. So it wasn't so like I was putting everything on God, and God, you're not doing anything for me. It's just I had to learn to do what I could and let God do the rest, or follow God's lead. And like that's, you see, Abraham did the same thing, just following God's lead and doing his part. So I mean, I just wanted to add that. Like it's difficult, but you just gotta find that middle ground.
Exactly. That's definitely what it is. And before we get into just the discussion, closing it out, I would definitely like to pray with everyone. And this is God's will, not just for any one person, but for all of us. So if you just close your eyes and bow your heads. Lord God, I thank you today. I thank you for the plans that you have for us. I thank you for the talents that you've placed in everyone in this room. I thank you that you know all things and you know how our lives are going to turn out. And you have plans to prosper us and to give us a hope in the future. I ask that you would help us to trust you, Lord God, that we would trust that just because we're going all in with you doesn't mean that we can't go all in the practical. It doesn't mean that we can't go all in with the talents that you've given us, Lord God, but that these two things will work hand in hand, that these two things will coincide and we will see you, Lord God, even if it's down the line and we see, Lord, that things in retrospect have worked out because we follow you, Lord God. Let us have the faith to go with you even when we don't see it right in front of us. In Jesus' name, amen. I know you had something to add.